Welcome to Trading Lounge and the US tech stocks. We're going to look at the S&P and we're going to look at the Nasdaq. Also, we're going to look at all of the stocks with a bearish pattern and a bullish pattern. So today, I won't be going into the intraday counts. We'll do that tomorrow. We're not going to miss much because, in a bit of a nutshell, markets will come down to their previous lows and they're going to have a bounce at that point. So this bounce could be small or it could be a little bit larger depending on the count. So we'll be looking for those short trades tomorrow, but not today, even though the markets will be red today. So we won't be looking at the intraday counts. We're just going to look at the big accounts for all the stocks. We're also going to look at the S&P and the Nasdaq in that light as well. There's a few things that we need to talk about. First of all, we were looking at the markets being an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave down to this point, and then moving up from that point. Now, it does appear that this will be breached here, so we need to reassess what we've been doing, that's all. So let's start. So the first thing, the takeaway is that the move down from the top here is in 3 waves. It's not in 5 waves. So this is not the top and the end of the world, so to speak. Okay, we're in this move down here is corrective, and the corrective pattern now appears to be getting larger. So we need to figure out what that is. So now, because it's in 3 waves down here, it's probably going to be part of the flat family corrections, the running flat, which is quite rare, and this is not a running flat because a running flat would take out the top here. So it's either a regular flat, and in this case, yeah, that's all it can be. It can't be an expanded flat. There are cases in stocks where stocks have taken the top out up here and, just nipped the top out, and that's what an expanded flat does. If that's the top here, it'll come down in 3 waves here, and then it'll have another 3 waves back up here, taking this top out here, and then it will have 5 waves coming down here, taking this low out here, and then it will move off from that point. Now, when they do take the tops out here, this could also be part of a triangle pattern as well. So an A and a B and a C wave in here, and then a D wave, and then an E wave in here, and then up again. So there's two ways to basically view this at the moment. One is the flat correction and one is the triangle pattern. So as a flat correction here, it would be 3 waves here, 3 waves here, a 3-3-5 structure here. So we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 down here for the C wave here. That would come down to the bottom here roughly. It can come below it and all those sorts of things. It's either that or we put the C wave up here further and have this as an A wave, a B wave, a C wave, and then a D wave over here, and then an E wave over here as well. So it'll be something like this. So you know what a triangle pattern is. So they're the two corrective patterns in the market. So we also need to look at the bullish pattern as well, and there's good case for looking at all of these in corrective patterns, and there's cases for looking at the market as being bullish, and stocks like NVIDIA and Apple can sort of produce those sorts of things. So I think it's good to just keep an open mind. Let's just look at both sides of the market and then sort of break it down and look at the consensus and see what we get, what the majority of stocks are going to be doing. So from this negative count here, let's call it, we'll have a look at the positive count. Now, on the positive count, the reason that I've looked at this being wave 1 to the upside here is because of stocks like NVIDIA that have definitely got even though they've made new highs, they've very clearly got a a wave one to the upside. So I think, I think it's okay to look at this situation. So this is the S&P, and this would be looking at this down here as an ABC, so the corrective pattern, and then 1 and 2, and then 3, 4, 5 for 1 here, and then looking down for the A wave, the B wave, and the C wave here. So that doesn't need to be that big actually, that can just come into here and then have this, because the stocks are telling me that we need to be looking for a move to the upside. So just nipping the lows out down here and then having a move to the upside. So this is what we want to focus on tomorrow. And then this wave C to the downside here for this. And this will be the same for the Nasdaq as well. And obviously we can see the Nasdaq is really strong here, but we could also see that it's quite weak here as well. So we can look at it in the same light. We could look at it as an A wave to the downside, a B wave to the upside, and then a C wave to the downside here. We could also, because it's in 3 waves here, we could also look at it as a triangle pattern as well here with a D wave and an E wave in here. So I kind of like the triangle a little bit, because if I look at, just bear with me for a second. This is Berkshire Hathaway here, which is quite interesting as well, because this is the B class shares. It took the top out over here on the daily chart, over this top here, but it hasn't given me 5 waves to the upside here. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, so an A and a B and a C there. I might be able to sort of spin that in another way, but you'd still end up with a 5-wave structure, a correction. We got 5 waves in here, and then we got another 5 here. So yeah, I mean, this could be an expanded flat because I've taken out the top. It could be a triangle pattern and so on. But also too, I mean, one of the weak spots in the market is the banks, of course, and just to look at those banks, this is them here, isn't it? Let's just put these on the, I mean, it's nice to know where the weakness is and so on. This was, the original count for the regional banks, and that was from the top on the weekly chart here. So, it looks like we're getting this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming down here, then the B wave, and then the C wave here. So, I mean, I've probably drawn this a little bit big, but the point of actually coming down here and then going back up and then coming down would be the same pattern as the triangle pattern here, basically. So in a way, coming down, coming up, coming down, but some of the stocks holding up better and then moving up. So there's a good case for the triangle pattern. I can see it in a lot of the other markets as well. Yeah, so either a flat or a triangle, and on the daily chart here for the bullish side of the market, we would be looking at this here. This could be a larger wave one here, the next degree high, but it doesn't really matter at this point. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1 and 2. And then the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th here, a little bit tight and bit, doesn't fit that well. I understand that. And in this case here, it does look kind of weak here, but you can see the stochastics kind of, I've got it set pretty fast, but, as I mentioned, the stocks are telling me that we're going to be pushing back up here after we make this low here. So this is what we need to be a little bit careful of. We can have a short. And the right thing to do is to short it below these lows here, but what we want to do is track 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here, and then look for the retest. But anyway, we're not considering that at the moment. We're just looking at the possibility of this being wave 1 and 2 up here. Okay, so that's the S&P and the Nasdaq, and the two sort of ideas in a way, you know. So this would be Apple here, and this is on a 2-day chart. So Apple's one of the markets that have taken the top out here. Now, there is a case for counting it as 3 waves up here. So it is possible that we could use all of this as the A wave here. So we're just looking at the broader picture today, and the B wave up here, and we could look at a C wave coming down. It's either that, or if it's going to be a top, then we need to look at it as a wave 3 up here with a larger wave 4 to come into play at this point. The bullish side for this is on the daily chart, and the bullish side of it would be like this. Looking at this as wave 1, and then we need to wingle this into wave 2 here. Now, the stocks are telling me that we need to make a new, come down a bit further and then go back up here. Now, this one may or may, there's a couple of them that may or may not make a new low here. They may just come down a bit further and then end up coming up here in a few waves, and then coming, and having the B wave up there at that point. And then I'll need to shift this across over to here. So if it makes a low or not, then I'll adjust this here. But the basic pattern is that we come down first, then we go up, and then we go down. That's what the sort of I'm getting from most of the stocks. Okay, so that's what we're sort of looking at. So that's the bullish count. Looking at all of this as wave 1 to the upside, and then a move back to 150 at this point. This is Amazon here, and this is the bearish count. So once again, the whole move down from the top here is corrective. So that's the good news. So I was looking at this being bullish, but it's possible, because the other side to this really is that we're at that 50, 60, 1.8% retracement level here, and it is the supply level meeting these tops here, so now it will come down to find that support. So yeah, look, it could be a B wave, and we can come down for a C wave. We could possibly put this into a triangle, but this is a little bit small compared to this here. So the bullish side to this is on the daily chart here, and it's just like all of them, basically just looking for this as wave 1 to the upside with some sort of ABC pattern to come into play. So yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's all a little bit confusing, not knowing, but that's that's just part and parcel of it. Well, that's how my mind is at the moment. I need to sort of really get a good grip on which one we're actually looking at. So I'm just sort of sharing the issue. So with NVIDIA here, this is a 2-day chart. I just don't get a bearish count for NVIDIA. I just can't do that, because you might be able to say, well, this could be wave 3 and 4 and going up for wave 5 here. But the problem with that is that, it's pulled back, from these lows here roughly. It's pulled back, deep into, 60 odd percent here, 60 plus, So a wave 4 is not going to do that. So it has to be wave 2 here. And then that would leave all of this as wave 1 to the upside. Sure, we still come back to the 300. It's not, as a corrective move. It's still bearish in that sense. But in the bigger picture, it's just telling me that it's bullish. And plus, NVIDIA is on the what do we call the S curve of new technologies, so just applying the power for new tech anyway. So it's hard to see this being this trend being completed. We could put it on log scale, and that would sort of give it a bit of a different spin. But like I said, it still comes back to that 60%. You know, that's the thing. So I can't call, you know, I'd have to call this wave 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 here, you know. So, yeah, so let's just go to the daily chart here. So you can kind of see here that that the move down through here appears to be like 5 waves. You can see 1 and 2 and the third wave here, so there'll be a fourth and a fifth, and so there's going to be 5 waves here. Then there's going to be you know, it's going to hit the old low over here. This is set a bit different. The stochastics in, you know, it's kind of in tune with it to a point. So there's going to be some sort of bounce coming from this point, you know. So that's why it's pointless to short it today. I mean, it's okay for, you know, day traders to do those sorts of things. Each day is always pretty much the same. So, but yeah, in terms of the bigger picture here, yeah, we need to get it, you know, we need to see it down here further. That's the thing. So down around the 330, 320, 300, those sorts of things. So yeah, so we'll be working on that. And then we come to meta platforms here. So this would be, it's pretty hard to see this as being, this trend being so high up here, to see it as being bearish, as an A wave and a B wave here. But yeah, I mean, there's a reasonable case for having 5 waves down here. I mean, counting this as an A and a B and a C here doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I could probably make more sense out of it and put the A wave here. That would probably be a little bit more helpful. But it doesn't quite fit at that point. So, yeah, obviously, you know, it's pretty powerful. I think it's got its earnings coming out soon too, actually. Let's go to the daily chart here. I don't know if it had its earnings, but so yeah, I mean, this situation here, I'm not quite sure about this. I'm not sure if I need to put that in as the top, or that's just going to be all of wave 1 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1 and back for 2. And while the other markets, while the other markets are doing this ABC business here, right, that's like 3 waves. So this would be here, this would give this one here, 1, 2, 3 up here to finish off. You know, there's a couple of markets like that. Google's another one, actually. So I don't know this or this at the moment, but still, I wouldn't short it unless we had the 300 here as the retested resistance at this point, and we can see that, you know, it kind of, you know, wants to have a bit of a move to the upside as well. So yeah, so looking at this here as 1 and 2, as we have been doing already here. So so this could actually move up further. So it's not really the one to short, okay? And then we go over to Google. And yeah, so Google counts quite nicely as a B wave to the upside, you know, as an A and a B here, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. This is another one here too. So this has got to come down a fair way to get a bounce. So this is one of them that could actually go up a bit further, but we'll talk about that in a moment when we go to the daily chart here. So I could put wave 5 top in here. I could do that. But this would have to come down. It's sort of like, yeah, the ones that have already down, stocks that have moved down quite low to their lows here, you know, they're going to have their bounces and their rallies. So I think that this will come down further, but it's got the possibility of moving up here further. So this is another one not to short, okay. just trying to see if we can look at it any differently, but that's okay at this point. There's nothing to do today on this. And we come to Netflix. So with Netflix, there's a reasonable, I think we looked at this before as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1 and 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for this, for 3, 4, and coming down for 5. In this case, I have to put it over here to get a nice A, B, and C wave over here for this. So once again here, we were talking about this on the intraday last time we spoke. We were looking for an ABC pattern here for this. So this would be, this would be the bearish count at this point, probably. And the bullish count would be having a B wave over here and then a C wave down to this point. So nothing to do here on this one yet. Could probably ready to trade long tomorrow. And Microsoft, so Microsoft also just took out the top here as well. So I could put it as, wave 3, 4, and 5 here. I could do that in this case. But on the bearish side of it, I think I'd be more inclined to log this in the same as most of the other markets in terms of an A wave, a B wave. So some of the B waves have gone higher than the tops. Some of them have been quite low. So there's been a whole variety, in this trend of markets, different sectors doing different things. Of course, with the banking sector being one of the weakest. With this situation here, the A, the B, and the C wave down here. I mean, it's a long way to come, but we'll see. The more positive count for this is this one here. So this is a bit like Google and Meta, where they're quite high up here, where Apple, for instance, Apple is already down on these lows here. So they kind of they'll kind of all move together. Now there'll be one or two that don't, and they got their earnings and all the rest of it. But I try to sort of, round them all up a little bit. This has got its earnings coming out after market tomorrow. So in this case here, it's quite possible for it to have this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here to finish. So I can have it up here. I could put it here. I'm not quite sure. I can also count little 5 waves up here for this. So as an A and a B and a C, possible. I think there's a bit more to go up here on this. So just don't want to do anything just yet on this. But like I said, tomorrow we'll look at, over the next few days, we'll be tuning into it. But on the bullish side, which we're talking about in the bigger picture today, is looking at this as wave 1 here with an ABC for wave 2 here. If it makes a new high here, then this will just simply go over to here as wave 1 over here. I mean, to me, it's always looked like a wave 4 here. But yeah, I got to kind of keep sort of rounding them all up and putting them in the same count to within reason, Okay, so then we go over to Tesla. And even though that Tesla is very bearish, the thing to take away here is that this move from the top here is also corrective as well. Okay, so so we're in a correction here. This, if we are, this will be it here, and this will be an A and a B and a C for the B wave, and then 1 and 2, and obviously 1 and 2 here. So in this case here, there's going to be some consolidation and a bounce off the 200. Like I said on Friday, we spoke. We can, you can be short in this, and but down to this point, and that's sort of it at that point. So this would be the bearish count. So we could also see this as a massive triangle as well. This it's not out of reach, in some sort of way. So we could see an A, B, C, D, and E here, and then move to the upside. But in the meantime, it's still got further to move to the downside. On the bullish side, grasping at straws a little bit, is looking at this here and lining it up with NVIDIA and all the others that are, on the bullish side. So some of them look bullish and some of them don't, but you've got to round them up, and because they'll all follow each other as 1 and 2 here, and 3, 4, 5 for 1, an A and a B and a C wave coming into here. Many stocks will be looking at this B wave as this wave, I've got this as a wave 4 here, but most other stocks will be looking at it as a B wave here. So I would expect this one here to be a little bit time consuming if it's going to tune into other markets. But yeah, so well, that's that, folks. Yeah, so all I wanted to do today was to step back, have a look at the at all the patterns, and try to narrow them down into sort of digestible lots on the bullish side and the bearish side of the market. And I know emotions and opinions can run run high on all of these things, and I'm not particularly married to any of this, but yeah, we've got to start somewhere and make a framework and start to sort of work in on all of this. And yeah, but the takeaway is that the Fed's they're stopped those guys freezing the markets up, and making unemployment higher, and price stability is the word, is it? Okay. Yeah, so so what they're doing is obviously working, and this is the soft landing or the hard landing, and we'll see how it plays out. I mean, one of the things too that kind of I thought was quite interesting, that just sort of crossed my mind, is that if I go back over to here, and not quite to here, I just want to go to the just want to go to the bonds for a moment. So I'm thinking that our stock markets will probably bottom out when this bottoms out here on the TLTs. This has got further to go down, of course, but also too more so if I go to the 10-year yields here. So when the yields top out here, this is a weekly thing. So when we've got this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here. So obviously this is applying pressure. So nice time to buy. But yeah, when these top out, that's probably when the correction finishes. So if we look at this on a daily chart here for a moment, I won't go into the intraday. So this has really got sort of just a few swings up here to finish this off here. So the time that this finishes off up here, I think the stock market will be sort of ready to be pushing up as well. So I'll look at the bonds and the yields and the dollar, and we'll see how we can tie them in to see if we can get any guidance from what's happening in those markets. Alrighty, I'll leave it all at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.